Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Janice. Again, the one was an official, now this is an official welcome to today's meeting. SWAC, as you know, is Pine Wellness Association of Kenya. We are the industry association that's the voice of the industry. And like a lot of associations, we're a member association where we're encouraging both I was going to say employers and employees, but should I just say people in the industry to join in? And we are doing this so that some of the challenges we bringing, it's either challenges that all of us at some point and that we keep experiencing. So the idea is to have a resource center in the name of the association where we are able to solve some of these challenges. The conversations we have when we do have these meetings is based on some of the requests that our members are requesting, or just based on what's going on as far as the trends are concerned. So right now, I suppose when we do this conversation is we are probably going to look at it more from a therapist perspective, given you're a therapist, but also I suppose holistically looking at it from an employer as well, because a lot of therapists, we are the ones who end up being employers. And so as far as the association is concerned, Janice, I'd like to please, after this, take a look at the website. The website has a lot of information. Who we are, the link is there on the chat. Take a look at the website to see who we are, what the recommendations. If you're not a member, you're welcome to join. And the fact that as sitting in this position, we rely and we need more people to join so that we can all work together. So we literally are needing all of us to join so that we can then make the changes that we want to see. We want to be able to retain most of our talents in Kenya if we can. We don't want to have all of you get out of Kenya to get jobs because then the opportunities are better. We don't mind you getting jobs out there. It's good experience, but let it not be because things are not great at home, right?
That's
So,
yeah.
and bearing in mind that whole thing of it may look green on the other side, but we must or need to water ours to make it green as
Mm-hmm.
well. So welcome. And I think without wasting any more time, Lucy, we can start the conversation. And I think you can start it with from an employer perspective, and maybe in between, we can then come back and look at it from a therapist perspective. And then Janice on the chat and any other person who joins in, please feel free. If you have a question when something is being explained, you can actually quickly type it in the chat so that we can answer. It would be nice to answer the questions. We'll have a Q&A at the end to then not interrupt the flow of the conversation. So please type it, feel free to type it in the chat. We will get back to it when we finish the session. So Lucy, welcome.
Thank you, dear Winnie. My name is Lucy, and I'm the secretary for the Spa Wellness Association Kenya. Um, and with us, we also have Diana, who is always helped us in the areas of administration, marketing. So she's one of us. And Janice, we all volunteer in these roles of ours. Karibu sana, and those who are to join. So today we will talk about hiring or recruitment, as it's called. And I find this subject very, very exciting because this is a subject that I enjoy. And one of the things I do a lot is to learn a lot while I'm in the process of hiring and recruiting as a consultant for those spas that set up or where it requires me to assist individuals who are probably already in a business and they're looking to get new teams on board and finding out what is happening with the other team or why is there a gap in the team that they have. So I will walk through a journey of how building a high performing spa team looks like and what needs to be done. So basically, this is about hiring and how you run through the process of recruitment, interviews, hiring, and selecting. That is, you can use the word hiring or selection process, and position offer. We'll even go a little bit more into how important it is when you're hiring to put in your program of orientation and training in line so that when you're bringing somebody on, you have a whole process that is connected. So one of the things that you need to remember as you're going through this process, there's the first process that we call recruitment and selection, and this has stages. So recruitment is the process of finding people to work for your company or organization or your spa. Selection refers to the methods used to choose the best or most suitable candidate for the vacancy. So there are two steps into that. So recruitment is a bigger picture, and selection is a step of recruitment. There are 10 stages of recruitment and selection process. If you have a pen, paper, you want to write this, please do so. Because this
We
is
are.
going to be very, very useful. And this is something, particularly in this industry, we don't see people doing. And I don't understand why. But it's a process that everybody needs to do. If you're a spa manager, if you're a person who's in charge of recruiting, these are some of the things that you need to think about. So there are 10 stages of recruitment and selection, and the first 6 stages make up of the recruitment process. Then the last 4 make up the selection process, and I'll just say them. So the first one is to identify the vacancy. So when you're in the process of recruiting, you don't just wake up and decide, I'm going to recruit. You identify the vacancy that you wish to fill. If you're setting up a new space, of course, the vacancies are open because it means that you need to fill those vacancies for the spa to be able to be in operations. So the first thing is to identify the vacancy. And a lot of people don't understand what it means to identify the vacancy. We'll describe that a little bit in detail. Secondly, is carry out a job analysis. I don't know whether anybody has ever done this, but this is something that you need to do when you're in the process of saying I wish to recruit. So you carry out a job analysis. What is a job analysis? And again, we'll speak a little bit more into that. The third thing is to create a job description. Once you identify the vacancy, you do a job analysis. Of course, the best next thing to do is now to describe that job. Number 4, then create a person specification. Who are you looking for? What are you looking for? Then number 5, you advertise the job. I have had so many people call me, Lucy, I'm looking for somebody. Da, 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 da. Do an advert. I'm like, wait, okay. So how do I do an advert? I need to have a conversation with you. I need to understand what you're looking for. I need to know what it is, what are the needs, what is the gaps, first and foremost, for you to even think about getting that new other person. So a lot of people just think it's going out there, picking an advert, throwing it out. No, there are those 4 steps that you need to go through before you get to the job advert so that you can create and develop a good job advertisement. Then number 6, send out application forms or request for curriculum vitae. That is the CVs. We all know what that is. So those 6 stages is the recruitment process. Then the last 4 that I will talk about is collecting the CVs and application forms. Very important. If you do not collect and sift through them, what happens? You might miss one of the best people. So you must take time to go through those applications and those CVs and really and see whether they match what you're describing your job advert and whether they suit the specifications you're looking for. Once you do that, that's when now you create a shortlist. This shortlist, you could have 60, 100 applications. You cannot interview everybody, and not everybody is suitable, but you will have a number of people within those applications whom you can select and then create the shortlist. And so this shortlist is important because it is the job description, personal specification, and the advertisement and the CV that will help you shortlist to begin to see whether they suit what you're looking for. And then, of course, once you've done that, now you lay out your interviews and testing. So please prepare a schedule. don't jump into it. Make sure that you have a proper schedule for interviews for individuals so that as people come for the interviews, they will also see that you're organized in the way that you're handling them, and then see whether they can also confirm or not. The other thing you also do, once you complete the interviews, you must inform the successful candidates and those who wish to get a feedback about why they did not succeed. Some of them even call me and say, Lucy, why did we not succeed? And sometimes I have a conversation with them. And they're like, oh, okay, fine, thank you. And now I understand where I need to go and tweak so that next time I know what to do. So it's good to try and have a conversations with those that you've interviewed and they've not uh, succeeded as candidates. Those you feel that will need to go and improve in some certain areas and would be good candidates next time. Tell them that and hold their CVs as well. So those are things that you do as a person who does recruitment. So stage one, which is identifying vacancies. The vacancies can become available in many ways, either when somebody leaves the organization, when you're setting up a business, or perhaps you wish to increase and grow your business. So in those three scenarios, there are different ways in which that you're looking for individuals to come and fill the vacancies. So once you understand that, do the job analysis. When a vacancy becomes available, it's important that the tasks, skills required for the position are identified. So make sure that you identify what these skills are, the tasks, and then this is what is known as a job analysis, so that you understand clearly that this individual who's coming to fill in the space, or this individual who needs to come in for a new business, or this individual that we need so that we can grow the business, you understand the tasks they need to come and do, the skills that are required for that position, that you identify. And then the next thing is a job analysis is important as it can help you identify whether a vacancy needs to be filled or whether the task and duties need to be redistributed. So sometimes, even as you're growing as a business, it's not necessarily that you need to go out there and look for somebody. Perhaps you have a team, perhaps you have individuals, and you'll just need to relook again and say, oh, wait a minute, I have this team and I can see that these skills and these tasks can be done by certain individuals, adding them onto their already existing jobs. You will decide depending on your business. Then it will be very useful to write a job description for this person and specification. So if you have those done and you look at the specification, you can even approach the people who you're with and see who you can actually say to them, I think you can do this. So sometimes you don't need to go outside. Sometimes you even have somebody within and you can even elevate them in their area and bring up another person as well. So there are many ways to do that. The other thing is once you do a job description, it is very important that the job description states the tasks and responsibilities and must contain the following information: the duties, the pay. Sometimes if it's a new space where you're bringing people in, then you must say where that place will be located. Hours, yes. In this industry, sometimes we say we don't have hours, but it's important to indicate the number of hours perhaps in a week, because you need to have flexible times. So you don't say, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. Perhaps you will not say that. But you might say within a week, you are required to work 48 hours or 54 hours, whatever the hours are. And they will be flexible depending on the schedules. That way, it allows you room for this individual not to come back and say, but you told me it is 8 to 5, it's now 5 o'clock, I'm going. You didn't tell me I'd work on shift. So to avoid those ambiguities and those kind of questions later, I always suggest in the spa industry, we say you will be required to work a certain number of hours per week, and this will be flexible depending on the schedule. The other thing that is important to be in the job description is the conditions of work. What are the conditions of work that this individual will require to know, even as they're stepping into your space? Now, Kenyans have a habit of not giving you a job description. tunaingia, tunajuana, ninakuambia karibu sana. If it's not a well-organized place, it's my space, and I'm like, I don't even have this document that you're calling a job description. Hiyo ni kusema nini? Especially when we're starting and we are from a therapist world. Therapists who wish to employ, anybody who wishes to come into to employing people must develop their documentation before you even open those doors, so that when these individuals are talking to you, you have it. So don't make it verbal. When you have a verbal contract with this individual, what happens? Within a few days, we are forgotten. Then you start complaining, and then you start saying, oh, this and that, and this and that. And then in the middle of somewhere, you say, now I need to bring in job descriptions. Wow. Now, you've worked with somebody for many, many years, and you, in between, you realize I didn't give them the job descriptions, and you want to bring in the job descriptions because you want now to almost bring in disciplinary actions. Sometimes I find that employers use job descriptions when they want to bring disciplinary action within the team. This should not be that the case. A job description is a very beautiful document that if you introduce somebody from day one, they would actually appreciate that you are also noting that they are an appreciated staff. If you start off without this job description, there's likeliness that you will fall out badly with each other. And there's no need because this industry is so small. So we'll start bad mouthing each other. Oh, you know, this one did me this. No need for that. So this sets out clearly expectations for whoever applies to fill the vacancy. So when I'm stepping into your space, I know exactly what is expected of me, you know what is expected of me, and it's written. Stage 4, create a personal specification, as we spoke about. A personal specification is a document that states the skills and qualifications needed. When you're doing your job description and when you're doing your advertisement, at the bottom, normally you see somebody saying, we're looking for this is the. What are those qualifications and skills and qualities that you wish these individuals who are applying to have? It's important to state them. And sometimes you even go beyond just the skills and the qualities and the qualifications. You perhaps even include some of the desirable characteristics that you wish these individuals to have. So it's important because already with this specification, it allows an organization also to begin to think to itself, what is it that we want to portray? What is our brand? So at that moment, when you're also doing the specification, include those desirables, characteristics that you wish these individuals to come with. For example, trustworthiness, something like that. Teamwork, you know, you state it way ahead. This will provide a series of measures also while you're organizing and how the person judges your company. So already I'm seeing that if I see this, I see, oh, this is a company that likes, you know, it's honest, it's trustworthy. And I'm also believing that vice versa, they treat people the same way. So then you go to advertisements, and the advertisement can be done in many methods. If you're doing it internally or externally, you can decide depending on what the position is and how you wish to fill that position. Then you can even advertise externally. You can use the press, you can use recruitment agencies. There are many methods you can do. You can even go online. So advertisement is something that you wish. It's like taking a net and casting it into the ocean, and you're hoping that if you cast the net wide, you will be able to catch some fish. So basically, depending on how wide you wish to cast your net, then you decide the methods which you wish to use for advertising. Then at that point, we talk about sending out applications and people must. Now, when you're asking individuals to respond back, please request for the curriculum vitae. Don't expect them to automatically know that it's required. State it in the advertisement. So that it also allows them to prepare a curriculum vitae. This industry, one of the things that I have found is that sometimes people don't feel it's necessary. Some people don't even know how to write a curriculum vitae, which is okay. But all you're asking somebody to do is to describe their skills, their qualifications, their experience. They can do that. They don't need to go and do a very complicated one. They can do a simple one and it can send the message. It will give a summary of the person's education, the qualification, previous employment, any references, where they've worked before, if they have had any awards from the previous employee as well, and they wish to state any extra trainings that they've taken up, include all that. In fact, don't be shy. This is where now you can sell yourself with your CV. A CV tells 1,000 things to the person who's looking. Once you've done that, you now start the selection process. The CVs come back and you start to select. Now, this selection process is internal and it contains the information. So you have this CV which contains the personal information of a candidate. It is used to The CV is used to compare it against the skills and qualities of those persons, this personal specification you had developed. Remember that specification you had? Now start matching the CV with that specification and go bit by bit. Each CV, you look through it and see whether these individuals match the specifications that you had put out there. Then you shortlist them. This shortlist now is, once you've shortlisted from 100, you might end up having about, I always say 30% is good. If you get beyond that, fantastic. And this shortlist now, once you've got it, now create the schedule for how you wish to carry out the interviews. Now, it's important that during interview and during this shortlisting, if you have, for example, 40 people, you must sit down and ask yourself the big question: how many people can I interview very well in a day? So that you are not saying you're squeezing 10 people in a day just because you don't have time. So you must then sit down and calculate how long will your interview take. And there are two parts of an interview, remember? In this industry, we have the practical and we have the one-on-one. So you can decide each how long it will take, or you'll start off with one aspect and then do another aspect another time of the same individual. So this now becomes where you become very, very organized in ensuring that even as I'm bringing in these individuals, I'm able to interview and speak to each person as much as I can within the time frame that I've given myself. I find that a good interview will take between 90 minutes to 2 hours. And I don't say 1 hour, because by the time we're finishing part one is almost, by the time we're getting to know each other and we're getting to the meat of the place where we are really now delving into the meat of the matter, it takes about 30 minutes. So you have another 30 minutes. You don't want to rush it. You really want to give this person a good opportunity so that they can also speak to you. They can feel free. They can be able to, you can be able to see whether you're happy with with the choices of the selections that you've made. And sometimes in an interview, you will even find more. So allow yourself enough time so that you're not chasing yourself or pushing yourself to a point where you're not getting enough of knowing these individuals and these candidates that you've selected. So for me, 90 minutes to 2 hours is good enough. And then once the person goes, you also come in prepared during your interview. You have your interview form, you're ticking off, you're also filling in as this individual is talking to you, you're filling in the responses of your questions so that you don't come back later on and say, at the end of the day, oh my God, what did the first person say? Very unfair to the candidates. So this selection process is long, but this interview is long, but be thorough ensure that you're well prepared yourself as well. Then when it comes to the testing, if you can't hold the testing the same day, then make another appointment for these persons to come for a practical testing. And again, prepare yourself, prepare them as well. Let them know that they're coming for a practical. They will do what areas do you wish them to do in the practical? Do you want them to do a massage? Do you want them to do a nail treatment? Have them ready, prepared mentally, and then let them know which day they're coming. Once you finish those two processes, it's time for you to summarize and see how you score them. And when it's always good, I say, always have one or two other people with you. For the purposes of when you're interviewing alone, you don't see everything. When you have somebody else, they might pick up something that you missed out as well. So when you find people in a panel, it's good to have a panel rather than have one individual. Now, this is to the employer. Now, I'll talk a little bit about to the individual who comes to be interviewed. One of the things that is very, very important, and I always go through with the ladies who come through me, the first thing we do, we have this form. This form begins from the day you are sent a message about the advertisement, how you responded. That's where the interview begins. Interview begins way back. The day how you responded, how quick were you? How did you respond? Did you respond according to the directions? Did you try and change the way you were directed to respond to the advertisement? The other thing we do is when you're called and you're told that there'll be a schedule for your interview, do you respond and confirm, or do you call, or do you not confirm and then turn up? So that is something else. You're being checked out. Then you come to the day of the interview. Oh, first impressions always, as we say. How did you turn up in the interview? Were you on time? How did you dress? How did you speak? Did you know your subject matter? Because it's not just talking, but it will also be questions regarding technical aspect. Do you know your subject matters? There are individuals who will tell you, I know, I went to school a long time ago. I've forgotten, but I know. How do I know that you know? So those are some of the things you look out for. And then the other things that you look out for is as you're, I have found sometimes that while I'm interviewing and some individuals require some advice, I give them openly, but with a thought of helping them to help themselves. Because some people have never been to interviews, especially new young people from school. Others have been to interviews. Others have not been to an interview that the one that you're performing, you're doing in detail. So they find it very different. But one thing I always say during the interview, it's not a time to put you on a test. It's a time for you to have a conversation, an honest conversation about yourself, and be relaxed. And so when you go through all that, from that perspective of the person who's being interviewed and those who are interviewing, there is then the final stage where we call informing a candidate. How do we inform a candidate that they're successful? It could either be in writing, or maybe you will tell the candidate during the interview, I'll get back in touch with you within a certain time frame. Please do so. If not, you'll say to them, maybe I'll call you, or I'll send an email or a letter, whichever method you choose. Inform the individual immediately after the interview. Do not tell them that I will call you, therefore it means that you've been picked up. No, you say, I will get back in touch with you either way. So that they feel either way, you will get in touch with them. So don't raise hope where there's no hope sometimes. And don't raise hope before you do your final selection as well, because that can be a bit difficult. Now, once you've done that, one of the things that is very, very important within the CV, there's a reference that these individuals wrote. If you feel it's necessary, and I think it's always good, call the reference. Ask this, call these persons the individual has indicated as their reference point. Reason being, sometimes you might get more from a previous employer or this other individual who knows this person about something you were not clear during the interview. And the conversation that you have with this other person who's a reference, it could be two ways. Either it's about a work reference or a character reference. So this will help you also uh, make a decision about these individuals ultimately. So now you finish the first part of recruitment and the first part of selection. You now go to the hiring. Very important when you're saying that you're now ready to hire. You've selected your people, you've chosen who they are. The first stage of hiring is an offer letter, not a confirmation letter. It's called an offer letter. You are given an offer letter which congratulates you for having passed the interview. You also, within this letter, there are terms and conditions that are included. There is a title to which the position you're coming to work, the starting date. It's important to also state the salary and the commission payable and when it is actually paid. It's very important because this question comes up. And if I'm I'm coming out from an old place to a new place, I would like to know how much are you paying me? Sometimes people ask, why don't you put, Lucy, why don't you put the salaries on the advert? And I always say, the advert is not about the money. Because some people have a tendency to say, oh, I like the salary, let me apply. I don't pick up my people or candidates or individuals based on salary. It's based on the conversations that you have. And this is where there's a big difference when we talk about hiring the right people for your team or for your organization. The moment you put a monetary factor in your advertisement, that's where people go to. So you might be missing the best just because of that. So leave it open, have a conversation with them. If this individual is the kind of person whom you can say, oh, wait a minute, I had a scale of between this amount to that. And again, this is important. When you are going to be selecting, have a range of salaries within you where you're sort of saying, if I'm taking a senior therapist, this is the range I'm going to be offering. Depending on how the interview goes, you can almost tell from where they were before and what they're asking and where you are as a company, you can almost position where they could be. Have that conversation during the interview with them about what they're looking for and what they're willing to take on the higher end and on the lower end. If you don't have this conversation with them, then it will be very difficult for you to offer, to give them an offer with an amount which you have not even consulted about. So it's always good for somebody to know, oh, at least I told them this is what the amount I'm looking for. I'm willing to take so much. I cannot take it below so much. Be frank with what you can take and what you cannot take. Next, you must indicate within the offer letter the probation period and how people terminate either the person being employed and the person who is employed. Also indicate the hours of work. We said that. And whether to be on pro rota. And then what is important is an area we call relationship, reporting relationship. Why do I say this? Because when you walk in as a therapist, for example, and you're getting a job or you're going to be employed, you need to know who you report to. Is there a manager? Is there an immediate supervisor? What is the hierarchy of reporting? And so the other thing also, mention the job description, attach it, and maybe in this offer letter, repeat that job description because this individual needs to know what they're coming for. Once the person has got an offer letter and they've accepted an offer letter, the next step now is to begin induction. Now, this process that I'm describing is what we call the hiring. So then you go to stage 2, which is called induction and orientation. A job orientation is a process for giving new employees important information about their workplace, equipment, pay, benefits, dress codes, or also introduce them to the co-workers during the orientation, which sets them up for success and integrates them into the company culture. Now, imagine saying to somebody, we've hired you, this is your offer letter. They come in, they will not be met by anybody. They come the day of reporting, and all they're saying is, oh, I came, and they're sitting at the reception area, and the receptionist is asking, may I be of help? And they say, yes, I have this letter. Today is when I'm reporting. And there was nobody to meet this person. What do you think this person will begin to think about your company? No matter how wonderful the company looks out there, and the first day, nobody to meet even this employee. What kind of a culture do you have already? What are you saying to this individual? So you set the tone of your culture by how you are receiving your new employees. The process of introducing new hires to the job task and processes and teams is very important. And the relationship that they begin from day one is key. We cannot take it for granted. Oh, she's a new person. Come and sit here. Oh, so and so is coming. Please, as a receptionist. Now, the other thing that we have to remember, if you're bringing new employers into the company, have you informed the other team that you're expecting new employees to come in? Why is that important? It is good that the older, those who are already in existing, get to know that there'll be a new lot of people coming, or new employers that are coming, or new individuals coming, so that they can be received well. If you don't inform them, they might just assume, oh, we don't know, we've not been told. Have you seen places where you've gone and maybe you're employed and nobody even acknowledges you, but you're all in the changing room probably, or you're starting to work, and people are thinking, who's that? Who's that? And they're whispering. The reason why that has happened is because somebody somewhere missed the step. Nobody introduced you. So you start feeling a bit odd, isn't it? And that odd feeling, you start wondering, how is this place? You start regretting almost. Have I come to the right place? I thought I came to this company because of. I've heard the company is good. Little things make a difference. So again, a big one. Once you've now brought in the person, you've oriented them, there's a big part which you call training. This training is a must. Everybody who joins your team, whether new, old, or in between, it is important to have thorough job training. Nobody, I believe that the rule of thumb is that when you're hiring people and you've got new employees, they cannot touch a client without having gone through your standards of operation procedures training, without having not gone through the menu and training of your menu. Otherwise, this individual will come with their own thing to the table. You have your own, they come with their own. Can you imagine what happens? Chaos.
Yes.
And now we talk about onboarding. Onboarding is part of an orientation, but it's when now it's those steps that you're taking to make sure that this individual will finally be employed. And onboarding takes about 90 days. Remember when we talked about the 3 months, when you're talking about offer letter, you put in the period of probation. This probation period is a time where you're orienting, the person is training, you're learning whether this person is fitting into the team. Did you make the correct choice or not? Even the person who's being employed is also thinking, have I made the right choice to be here? So it allows both parties a time frame where they are getting to know each other, getting to understand each other, and making the final decisions of whether they want to be, whether they want to continue or not. So onboarding is those 90 days that allows you to be on the job, to train, to get the experience that is required, to get deeper insights of that company, and then also understand the culture of the company and vice versa. And then both of you make a decision. After 30 days, or those after 90 days, sorry, you have a formal sit down with these individuals and then assess the person. They'll also give you the assessment as well. So it's good to have a two-way assessment. So how long should a new employee orientation last? Although orientation is relatively brief, it will still take more than a day for new hires to meet their new coworkers. So you hear orientation is quick, but the onboarding is 90 days. So that's the difference. And if you wish, also the orientation does not need to be rushed. Sometimes orientation can take a while. In our industry, we know that not everybody is on duty the same time. So every time that somebody comes in and you're having your briefs in the morning, that is a moment also to reintroduce again this new person who's joined you. So remember that at all times, this new person needs to meet everybody and needs to know who everybody is and where. And it takes time to orient yourself. Even when you move into a new place, it takes a while to get used to the place and to the rhythm of the place. So please don't expect somebody to come in and jump into a room and start doing treatments. The moment they do that, no matter how good they were, they don't understand your culture. They don't understand your workplace. They might be good in their skills, but have they understood that organization and how you arrange things and how you operate? That is important. So please remember that point as well. So when you're also dealing with new employees, have a plan for them. Have a plan for orientation. You are saying to yourself, from this day to this day or this time period, we will do this area, so that also it allows this individual to familiarize themselves at a good pace. So you're not rushing through things. Those 90 days, you have literally laid out a schedule of onboarding. Which day are they doing this practical? Which day are you testing whether they've done it? How many times do they need to do it before you say, I'm happy with what you're doing? Even if somebody comes with their skills and their knowledge and they're well-rounded in what they do, it's important for you, for this new individual to understand your culture and for them to reorient themselves with a new culture and how you do things. And then, of course, as you're doing all this onboarding, there's another perspective as well of hiring, which we call paperwork. And all of us don't like it. Paperwork is happening concurrently. This individual is bringing in their documentation. You're also making sure that you're giving them your paperwork, the company rules and policies. They're giving you their PIN numbers, NHIF, which we now call SHA. They have given you their numbers, the NSSF. You're onboarding them now. They're giving you their documentation, the physical documentation. If they have bank accounts, you need that so that you can be putting the pay there. It's also a time for you to be able to give them the handbook, the employee handbook as well. Now, an employee handbook comprises of everything that could be from the beginning of how you come in as a new employed person, what are the rules and regulations, what are the policies of the company, the standards of operations could be included in that, what is expected, how do you take leaves, how many hours, all those things are included in a handbook. A handbook is like a little book. It's like a little Bible, I would say, that helps you remember as an employee what I need to be doing and how I need to be. And then remember as well, you need to bring your IDs, identifications, and all that. Once all that is done, this is just onboarding now, we're talking about. Remember, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, this new employer or this new employee, this new employed person will require a welcome package. This welcome package contains all those things I was talking about. You have your handbook, you have your letter of offer, you have then the welcome letter, they are meeting the CEO, all these things that need to be put together. This welcome and introduction package is one that helps that employee to begin to feel welcomed and to feel part and parcel of this family. Remember, if it is a supervisor handling this individual, they must meet the owners of the company. Sometimes the owners of the company leave the managers or the supervisors to do all the work by themselves. And they then come 3 months later to meet the employer, to meet the new person, sorry. So it's important that in your orientation or onboarding schedule to have space and make time and inform the owner that on a certain day at a certain time, we will be coming to meet you with a new employed person or the person that was selected. Why do you think that is important? Imagine being employed and you don't know the owner until 6 months down the road. What does that tell you about that company? Or sometimes this person just passes in the corridor, you're hearing in whispers, we on the boss, we on the boss, you know? So I think it's courteous for both sides to meet in case the owner did not do the interview. Sometimes some owners are not in the interview panel and they let the managers or the supervisors to handle the recruitment. And as a leader of the team and someone who will interact frequently with the employee, the manager is best placed to make their new team member feel welcome and comfortable. You, the manager, are responsible to make this employee, the new person, to feel comfortable. Let them not have fear as they come and join the team. And so, with all that, it is important for this individual to know about the offices as well. Which areas they can access. Does that mean that they will need to go through a security channel before they come in? It's important to note that and inform them. Do they need a new ID for security? You know, these small little things that people take for granted can cause a lot of problems for a new employer or a new employee. Then the other thing is, if a person has a car, what is the parking arrangement? Have you gone somewhere whereby maybe you have a little car of yours and you find the parking is not enough? Unaambia, hey, toa gari, hatuwekangi gari hapa ya staff. You know, we need to be considerate as owners of spaces and employers. If there's a parking for staff, show them where they'll park. If there are guidelines of how they park, it's important that they're aware of it. And of course, when you're going through all this, make sure that when you're planning this whole process and this pathway that you're taking this individual, you have a checklist. So in your checklist, you're ticking away. When did you do the welcome and introductions? Well, did they get a welcome email? Have they received their uniforms? Have they met the team? Have they been able to do this and that? Have they been given all the documentation they require? Have they given us the paperwork that we require? Have a checklist. Let me tell you, a checklist is the most simplest, it simplifies your work, literally. Because if you sit there and you say, oh no, I know it off head, you might forget some important areas. Now, when you do all these things, one of the things that you now look back and say is, did I, as an employer or the owner of the business, did I give the best that I could to this individual when they came on board? What do we take away from all this? So making the first right impressions is very important. A new hire feels their first day is well planned and likely to feel engaged quicker with a new team and new role. So if you're not going to do all these things and make your new person feel at home and welcome, you're also making this person start off on a foot of uncertainty. That means they're not there 100%, they're still watching you. And believe you me, this person is not going to give you their 100% input. So if you start haphazardly, then don't expect to get in return 100% input from this new hire. A company culture is important. This individual needs to understand your company culture. What do I mean by company culture? During the beginning of your onboarding and the beginning of your days in that space, a company culture is important to be known by the new hire or the new employee, because this begins to let them understand that they cannot come with their own thinking into this space. There is a way the company likes things to happen, so please make it very clear from the beginning, not in the middle of employment 6 months down the road, when you are now in the middle of wanting to fire them, you're pulling hairs about the individuals. It is so important right at the beginning. If you begin on a good footing, then you're likely to see that individual, even if they were thinking otherwise, they will say, oh, I was told in the beginning this is how things happen here. Therefore, I will not bring my own attitudes and ways of doing things. Encourage the connection between the employees. So important in this industry. How many times do we come in as new therapists and you find those who are there not talking to you? So the manager or the person who's responsible for this new hire must ensure that the connection between the employees happens as soon as possible. This can happen in very many ways. There's always briefs in the spa industry, we know, every morning. That's one connection. Two, introduce them one by one and make sure this happens sooner sooner than later, unless somebody's on leave, so that this individual begins to feel that they're connected and they're part and parcel of the team. Empower these new hires. If a new hire is on board, empower them so that they feel, oh my gosh, I'm given an opportunity here. Is there a future for me here? When you start off with a disempowering statements or comments amongst ourselves, we begin to make this person fear to stay on. So it's important that this individual feels that they are here, that there's a future for them, they feel comfortable, they're part of the membership, they are going to give you 100% in their heart. So this topic also is a topic that allows us to think, how do we wish not only just to hire, but what kind of people do we want to bring on board? And when we're doing that, what is our processes to bring these people on board such that they become a team that is performing well? So the foundation we create from day one will build a good team. If we don't create that foundation and we don't follow a process that allows a strong foundation to be built, then the performance of your team begins to dwindle. And that's why when you hear sometimes, oh, I've hired people, they're not doing what I said. Did you tell them in the beginning? How was your process of recruitment? Did they know for sure what they were coming to do? How did you carry that process of recruitment and hiring and selection and onboarding? I think with that, I can leave questions and answers.
Great. Thank you so much, Lucy. I think that's really nice and comprehensive. And just maybe one more you can just add on a tiny little bit. Other than for the therapists then applying for the jobs, what else can they do to prepare? And I'm asking this because I've been in a situation where you're interviewing somebody and you ask them something about the organization, they know nothing, even though they applied for the job. So, how much and to what level of preparation should they go into as far as understanding the organization where they are the organization where they are hoping to work?
I think that is something that every individual, when you're applying for a job, you cannot go blindly. So make sure that you know this company. If it's a new company, it's an old company, investigate. You know that today with technology, you can actually Google it up, isn't it? Another thing is, do you know somebody within that organization who you can speak to? Nothing wrong. Find out about the place, find out about the company. What you do as a person who's coming in to be interviewed, you need to make sure that you know this company you're coming into and understand it well. Get to know its ethos, get to know how it employs, get to know what it's looking for, and then see at that moment, do I even need to go there or what happens? You know, so it's important, and it's also important for you. I mean, do your investigations. I would not imagine that anybody coming for an interview has not done investigation about the company, unless it's a new company. And if it is a new company, sometimes I even find good candidates will call me when I'm dealing with a new company, because sometimes you won't find it easily. They say, tell us a little bit about the company. And I find that very, very useful. You tell them about it, nothing to hide. And that individual who calls is one person you look out for as well, because this shows that this person went the extra mile to want to know about you. And during the interview as well, every candidate must ask, about that company, something that you need to know. Never leave an interview room without asking a question about the company.
Great. So I'm glad you said calling the company to, like in your case, if you're helping recruit for somebody, they can call you. But even if there isn't a person doing recruitment, the company is recruiting themselves, you should be able to call them directly and say, there's nothing wrong with calling and saying, I'm coming in for an interview. I just wanted to know what services or things like that, so that they make sure they understand and not just also relying on the industry, because I think we're very notorious. If I've been fired from a place or I left because we had a bad experience, and then, posting in the group, or, that employer, this and that and the other, because we've seen that happen a lot. So I think the onus also it does lie on you as a therapist looking for a job to do proper homework or research on the company where you're going to go. Know the things they're doing. They know the services and things like that regarding the company, not just relying on the, word of mouth by somebody else, right? Great. So I think that's nice and clear. Thank you very much, Lucy. I think we want to open up the floor now for questions. So this is the perfect time for Q&A. There are no questions on the chat, but seeing as we're not that many, you're welcome to ask. So welcome. I had welcomed Catherine and Shireen. So, but ladies, now it's your turn to ask questions if you have any. And even if it's not question, you can give us feedback as we bring this to an end. It could be feedback, it could be a comment, including what topic would you like us to see as discussed next month. So it could be any of those things. So the floor is open.